Welcome to Raven's Whispers Across the Nine Realms, a podcast where North myth. Yep, there we go. That's going to be our intro edit. God damn it! Welcome to the Raven's
Not so easy, is it?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, fuck it. I'm just going to pull from the other one.
No, come on. You gave us a hard time. You got this. We believe in you. All right, I'll shut up.
Welcome to Raven's Whispers Across the Nine Realms, a podcast where Norse myth meets modern minds. We explore the realms of mental health, gaming, and community. One story, one conversation, one whisper at a time.
To Raven whisper, north winds cry, where truth is hidden in the sky. Through nine realms wide and time grown cold, we seek the wisdom of the old. With axe and shield, with heart unbent, for honor's call our fate is set. We rise as one beneath the storm. To Raven whisper, we are sworn.
Today's guest, we've got Gamble, the VP, Vice President of the TROA nonprofit organization. Or as I was told earlier today, the Realms of Asgard, Inc. How we doing today, Gamble? You doing good?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be here. How are you doing, Joker?
I am fantastic now that you've gotten your mic situation sorted. It'll be a lot less editing for me later.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad we got that figured out.
And then, of course, my co-host today, probably for the last time until we bring him back on for a special appearance or a short, is Street Mark. How you doing?
I'm eating a pickle.
You're eating a pickle. You like pickles, don't you?
My dinner. I love my pickles, man. They're good.
Yeah, I still don't understand how people don't like pickles.
They're good for your body. I don't understand why people don't like them. Nope, I'm doing good. I'm excited about this episode. I think that it's going to be really, really good because you're going to learn about the VP. You've already learned about the president and the COO. Now you're also going to learn about our vice president and his story. And I think his story is really good. So I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. With Gamble today, we're going to go through a set of questions that have been pre-selected. Mark's going to throw in some random ones that he thought off the top of his head like he usually does. And then we're going to go through a few different steps, but it's typically structured for all our guests so that they are aware of the general path that we like to take with these questions, and also they have time to prepare so that we're not fumbling over our words here. But we are going to have a conversation there. If we think of something as well throughout the talks, we're going to ask, and if anybody ever feels like they can't answer, they're more than welcome to state so. So the first question, Gamble, that I want to get into is your mental health journey. And you're well aware, you've already done this twice already. But as far back as you can remember where it kind of started out up to today, how has your mental health journey been?
Yeah, man. So as far back as I can remember, I was always kind of living a lonely kind of life. I didn't have a normal kind of family. My mom and dad were never together. I always had mixed stories from each of them on what happened, why they weren't together. My mom said my dad was a drug dealer and he beat her and he had warrants. That's why he lived a state away. My dad said he cheated on her, got the cops after him. That's why he couldn't come into the state. It was all just, they used me against each other. And that was like that from pretty much the day I learned to talk, trying to use me as a pawn against each other. My mom ended up getting married. That wasn't a very happy relationship. My little brother ended up having very severe disabilities, heart condition, very rare heart condition called Marfan syndrome. And he ended up having, I believe, 3 open heart surgeries before he was 10 years old. That always took the time away where it was always just me as a kid. You know, my dad was kind of in and out of the picture. I would see him one weekend every few months, and then sometimes it would be a year I wouldn't see him. I had a good relationship with his mom and dad. My grandma and grandpa would always go out to the farm. My grandpa was a Vietnam Marine veteran. I always looked up to him and decided that's what I wanted to be. You know, that's a man's man. And that's what I got into my head, that, you know, this is who I want to be when I grow up. You know, as kids, we always go outside and play army or play soldiers, cowboys and Indians. Well, I was going outside and I was playing Marines. It took me a while to get there. You know, my childhood journey, it was rough. My mom ended up getting a divorce from my stepdad. And, you know, my stepdad, he had kind of raised me up until age 11. I called him dad. And all of a sudden, right when they got divorced, it was, well, you're no longer my stepkid. See you later. Got nothing to do with you. And that kind of hit me hard. Again, I feel abandoned. You know, my mom was never very motherly to me. It was always, I felt like I was more tolerated than loved with her. I was just there. Somebody that, a burden to her. I was there. She sent me out to play, so I was out of sight, out of mind. Got into a lot of trouble in school. Ended up getting kicked out of high school a few months into my freshman year and getting sent to an alternative high school. And actually there is where I started to excel. I started hanging out with the bad boy kids and the kids that your parents warned you about when you go to school. Just tell you to stay away with. That's when I started learning how to fight. I started going to the MMA gym here in town. Started training with those guys. My friends were always seniors, juniors, the older kids. I never liked any kids my age. Started hanging out, partying a lot, drinking. Started experimenting with marijuana. Just didn't really care about school or an education. It was all just a road I had to take to get out of Iowa and into the Marine Corps. That was my only plan. No college, no job, just the military. That's the only path I wanted to take. And then come junior year, going into my junior year, my dad ended up getting custody of me. I moved to Chicago with him, and I kind of turned my life around a little bit at that point. Stopped going to parties, stopped drinking, started working out. I got on the varsity wrestling team, started doing better in school. I don't think I ditched a single class my junior and senior year of high school. I was a decent wrestler, went to sectionals, went to regionals. You know, I was looking good, and I was that motivator that went to the recruiting office every single Thursday night, Warrior Night. I would go there, and I had a great relationship with my recruiter. You know, I would go to his office, I would bring him kids. You know, I'd probably made that guy's mission more times than he could, because that's just how bad I wanted to be in the military and be in the Marine Corps. I ended up getting really sick going into my senior year with pancreatitis. I ended up spending about 2 months in the hospital.
Ooh, yeah.
And
My daughter just got over all that and actually had to have her appendix removed because appendicitis. I understand that's a huge struggle.
yeah, they couldn't tell me what caused it. It kind of came out of nowhere, and it fucked me up. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced, besides what I just experienced in December with ischemic colitis. And it put me down. I can't remember how much weight I lost, but for a month and a half, I was just on the fluids coming through the IV. Couldn't eat. I couldn't even suck on ice chips. That's how bad everything was. You know, at that time, they kept asking me if I was drinking and partying. And, you know, for that whole year, I had been clean and sober. So that wasn't the case. And they couldn't figure out what it was. But I eventually got better, went back to school. I ended up graduating. And I had a fight with my dad. My whole family are really big drinkers. You know, in Iowa, the big thing is Busch Light. It's big in the farming community. It's just big. And man, he can drink a case like it's nobody's business. And he just got drunk one night, and he cocked me in the back of the head, hit me in the chest, and looked me dead center in the eye and said, "You're going to get fucking killed in the Marines." And, you know, that I had enough of it. You know, him and being drunk every day, I just had to get out of there. So I ended up moving back here to Dubuque until I got shipped off into the military. And that's when I thought my life was going to start. Little did I know that my problems were just beginning. Because as soon as I got to SOI, started training, I ended up coming tumbling off a mountain because I'm just a fucking idiot, and really fucking myself up. Damaged my back, damaged my neck, and I was out for the count. Didn't really know what I was going to do. I thought, you know, my career's out. Had no backup plan. I ended up being able to stay in a little longer. I got sent to a unit in Quantico, Virginia. You know, it was a good unit. It was a Marine Corps Embassy Security Group. But, you know, it's not like the fleet. I got put on a med board, and I was on a lot of narcotics, a lot of muscle relaxers, and steroids to kind of get me back into rehabilitation and physical therapy. I ended up having 2 different doctors, and they had overprescribed me. and actually prescribed me a lethal combination of medication. And this was on a Friday. Got back to the barracks, and that weekend I had overdosed. And I was supposed to have stand duty on Saturday. My platoon sergeant came and saw me, and he just thought I had gone and got fucked up out in town or something. And he stood my post. I don't even remember it. And I woke up actually on Monday morning in my master gunnery sergeant's office. They were all looking at me like, what in the fuck did you take? What are you doing? I just remember them hauling me over to the Naval Health Clinic, and they looked at my medication chart, and they said, this is bad. He was prescribed a lethal combination of medication. He's got to go to the hospital. And my master guns took me to Fort Belvoir Army Hospital, and I sat in detox for 24 hours. My master guns sat there with me that whole time because it was my first real introduction into, well, it was my first overdose, but it was also seeing my heroes turn on me and fail me. Because that same week when I returned to my unit, they had already been told that the naval doctors had given me a lethal combination of medication, but they didn't want to take that slip on their record. So it's nonstop berating of, why did you try to kill yourself? Why did you take this much medication? And it was nonstop. And I ended up getting ordered to see a psychiatrist for 3 months. And it ended up going on my record of a possible suicide attempt. And that really, it was just not the case. And it really hit me, down. It hit me hard that, this is my unit. These guys are supposed to look out for me. They were already told that the doctors made this mistake, not me. And here they are just letting me down, just like my family had. It's just me in this world. I'm the only one who's got my back. And it really opened my eyes. And then my mom had gotten remarried, and her husband had ended up passing away. And during that time, she had actually been diagnosed with cancer, and my little brother had been placed in the hospital because his lung collapsed. So I was put on Red Cross alert and sent back to Iowa because my second stepdad was their caregiver. My unit put in for a HUMS transfer, which is a humanitarian assistance request, to have me transferred to a active duty role within a reservist unit near my hometown here. And while the paperwork was waiting, I basically became a recruiter at the Armed Forces Recruiting Center here. During all this, I ended up meeting my son's mother and doing like not every young Marine, but a significant percentage of young Marines do. I ended up getting married and getting my new bride pregnant. We move in with each other, have no plan, have none of that. Things at home with my wife or my mom are not very good. I've never had a good relationship with my mom. Things at home with my new bride are not good. We barely know each other because I didn't know her before I had came back. I think we knew each other a month before we got married. It was really just, hey, why don't we go get married? And it was just a bunch of bad decisions because of where my head was at. And all this time, I'm on all these narcotics for my pain. When I was waiting on prescriptions to come in, this was the time when the opioid crisis was really bad. All I had to do was go to the ER, show my CAT card, tell them what was going on, and they take me right in the back, give me a shot in the ass of morphine or Dilaudid, and I'd be good to go. It took less than 5 minutes, and they'd send me out the door. It really blew my eyes. I could do that every few days. I don't want to say they were enabling, but at that time, I don't think anybody really understood how bad opioids were. Yes, there is a place in life for opioids to help with pain. But at that time, I think opioids were doing more damage than good. It was hooking and addicting people terribly. And that's exactly what happened to me. It ended up affecting my life at work, ended up affecting my marriage, ended up affecting my relationship with my mom, even worse than it already was. And then something significant happened. A young Marine from our RSS, our recruiting substation, had been killed by an IED over in Afghanistan. Lance Corporal Adam Wolf from Iowa, he was killed in Afghanistan. And we were all actually running the annual physical fitness test when they made the announcement. And I remember it hit me like, I'm back here working at a recruiting office, and there's a fucking war going on. Marines are dying, and I'm sitting doing nothing. And I just felt like I had to get out. I had to go back to my unit. I had to see if there was anything I could do to get off of this med board. I think I was doing more damage than good. And realistically, I don't think I was even addressing the facts of there was no way I was going to ever get in a fight. I was too damaged to do anything. But I put in the request to go back to my unit, and they approved it. So I returned to Virginia. Spent another 6 months there before they ended up processing me out. And I ended up getting a hardship discharge because things with my mom had ended up getting worse, and my brother, and she kind of played me like a fiddle and had wrote letters to my commanding officer requesting that I come home so I could be her caregiver. I had to write a request to get off of med board and return to, active duty, but come off of limited duty. They approved it, and they ended up processing me out. Turned home. The week I returned home, I had divorce court, custody court, didn't have a job, didn't have really a plan. I got hit with almost $1,000 in child support per month because they were going off what I was making
when you were on active duty.
Yeah, and it ended up taking me almost 3 months to find a job when I got home. A month of me coming home, my mom ended up kicking me out of the house, and I ended up going and living with Cruz for a while. It was all just really messed up. And at that time, during all this, when I got home, I tried turning in a prescription for some of my pain meds. I forgot that, hey, I'm no longer in the military. I don't have any TRICARE. I don't have any health insurance, nothing. And they denied it. I don't have any money to even pay for this. I started going through withdrawals. I had been on painkillers and narcotics for almost a year. You can't just stop taking it. So I started, a buddy of mine, I had been hanging out with, going up to the bars, riding Harleys with. He really didn't want to. I think he knew where it was going to lead me. But he saw the pain I was in. He saw how I was withdrawing. He was like, hey, don't go too hard, but take a little sniff of this. And it was heroin. I took a sniff, and that is when my life just came spiraling down and went out of control. And from there, I started really getting heavy into drugs, from heroin to meth to fentanyl, because my body just, from a year of being on pain meds, the heroin worked for a little while, but it just built on like I became immune to it. I had such a high tolerance for it that I had to move on to the fentanyl. It became really bad. I had to start getting into crime just to support my habit. And at that time, my buddies were running with an outlaw motorcycle club. I decided I was going to start riding with them. I want to make this, very clear. Not all motorcycle clubs are bad. There's a lot of great people out there. These guys, my two buddies, they already, they weren't military. They were just, I don't want to say they had bad in them, but my one buddy, he was a career criminal already. He was a registered pimp. In our town, he was a convicted felon for pimping. For me, I lost who I was. I lost my identity. And that made me angry, hateful. I felt alone, and all that hate, all that anger, all that depression drew me to these guys. Throw in the drugs, throw in the alcohol, and people just needed to get out of my way. And boy, did we make them. And it got really bad. At my worst, I was just doing fentanyl just so I could not get sick. I wasn't even getting high anymore. It was literally so I could get through the day without not getting dope sick.
Yeah, you don't get the DT sickness.
Right. And that's just, there's no point, I overdosed 3 times, and I felt invincible. I felt like I couldn't die. I've been beat, I've been shot at. I felt like nothing could kill me, not even the drug that was killing hundreds of thousands of Americans and people in the world. This isn't even killing me. Sure, I've OD'd, but I'm still walking. I was out of my mind. And it took me getting arrested for a misdemeanor charge and the FBI and the ATF having enough of me to turn that into a federal felony, to really get my wake up. And I was charged with drug user in possession of a firearm. It was my legal concealed carry handgun. It was a Glock 22 pistol. I was in a cell phone store, getting a cell phone turned on, and I guess I was intimidating looking because I had my Glock sticking out of my waistband. rocking an MC club support gear, and they felt intimidated and called the police on me. And they arrested me. I had been on the run for about 1.5 years on that charge, because it was just a misdemeanor charge, but I didn't think much of it.
You got complacent to your crime, and that's when they caught you.
And the real kicker of it is, if I would have just gone to court on that and taken the probation, I wouldn't have gone to prison for 2 years. Because who the feds really wanted was, well, they wanted me, but they wanted my buddy. And, they gave me choice, cooperate, and you can walk out of jail today. They told me that in Dubuque County Jail. And I told them no. I don't talk, never going to talk. And they sent me down to federal holding and went before a judge. I had a lot of good character witnesses, and I just pled my case. I said I've made a mistake. I got sober in jail, which was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. Coming off of on withdrawals in a jail, when your bones just ache and hurt and you're sweating and you can't sleep, it's rough. And I did that for about 3 weeks, and it was just, I wanted to kill myself. And it is hard to kill yourself in jail. I banged my head on the wall. They put me in the special housing unit, in solitary by myself for, 30 days. Finally, I came out. But anyway, I went to federal prison in Milan, Michigan for 2 years. Came out in January of 23. I made a pact with myself that I was starting fresh and having a new life. August 5th of this year, I've been sober for 4 years, drugs and alcohol and crime. I've had a relationship with my son now. I get him every weekend. I love that.
So just, sorry, I want to backtrack a little bit. So what you're saying is actually doing the time, even though it was a misdemeanor that got you caught, that misdemeanor technically saved your life.
Oh, absolutely. If I wouldn't have been arrested, I believe wholeheartedly I'd be dead in the streets from violence, or I'd be dead from an overdose. It's facts. Or I'd be in prison on
something
some
else.
Other charge.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to stop what I was doing. Sin is the only thing that stopped me. Opened my eyes.
And I know a lot of people don't look at doing time in a positive light, especially when you're sharing your story. But this is, to me, I want to kind of focus on that because this has turned you into who you are today. And I want you to know that I'm glad, just from that part of your story, that you are appreciated that you're here with us. Because like I said in my episode, and I've told 100 people that I am thankful that you literally drugged me into this community. So I hope you understand that. And I want to emphasize it more, that I'm glad you went to prison and was able to refocus your mind to do something with yourself to the point where you're here now and you brought me into this. So I just wanted to interrupt and say that.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I'm glad I was able to get you in too. You're doing great things here.
But yeah, getting that time with your kid, trust me, I know I didn't really mention much of it, but I have a 13-year-old daughter that with her mother, we weren't ever together, but we had an agreement that if she ever asked, she'd reach out. Well, she finally reached out when she turned 11, and now she's living with me. So that's where the fourth kid comes from in this house. So I know how precious those moments are.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't have gotten it if I wouldn't have gone to prison. It sucked doing the time, but I needed a wake up call, and I needed that time in a cell to look back on my life and look at the mistakes that I've made and forgive myself,
Mm-hmm.
and also, forgive the others who've brought me pain.
Oh, yeah.
I forget, like, my mom, my dad, they haven't had perfect lives, and they may have brought me pain. I don't hold grudges. I forgive them. I know it wasn't easy raising me. I wasn't an easy kid, so I don't hold grudges. But prison also helped me, explore my faith. I earned my hammer in prison. I had a lot of time to do research in prison, so I wouldn't have gotten that on the outside. I made a lot of brothers in prison, but all that's behind me now, and I'm out. I'm making a new journey for myself, and I'm proud of where I'm at.
Awesome. All right, Mark, go ahead.
Well, that was a very enlightening history of you, and I have to say, over these past probably 5 6 years, I myself I've changed, so that's awesome. I have a couple questions that I've put into this. Can you go ahead and tell the audience, what you do at TROA and how you live our mission in the sense?
Yeah, so I'm the vice president here at TROA. Um, Basically, I am Street's right hand man. Day to day, I am doing research, looking at different future partnership potential ideas. I pass that research to our executive team. I'm also conversing with our executive team, our leadership team, being a voice for our community, being there if anybody needs anything. I'm also that guy that if Street is gone, I need to be the one that steps up and be there to take his spot. So if Street goes on a vacation, I become Street. So I am there to help Street keep TROA going and help us increase our potential and become bigger, better, greater than we are, and help reach and impact as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So can you also let them know, besides, being my right hand man, being the VP, tell them about the partnerships that you've already started heading up and that you've already gotten TROA into.
Yeah, so I pretty much reached out and started the VFW partnership. I I brought it up and said, "Hey, I think this is a great idea for a potential partnership." I reached out and was kind of the point of contact for everything. Um, Kept the emails going, kept the contact up, made sure everything kind of kept going. But at the same time, I think everything here at TROA is teamwork basis. Not one individual can keep TROA going. It's all teamwork. The team needs to keep everything going for TROA to run smoothly.
Humble
Yeah.
words. Humble words.
TROA, yeah, TROA itself has just grown to a point to where it's impossible for myself even to do everything that's But there's a lot of stuff that has to get done, especially in a nonprofit organization.
And
Absolutely.
I want to answer part of that question for him because he's being way too humble on that. He not only came up with the idea like he did for this podcast, but he also tirelessly kept communications to the point where it was almost annoying to the program director of the VFW. Not just not just a post commander, not just a member of the VFW, the program director for the VFW at the highest levels that started the combat tested gaming division and does other things. Like he runs a good portion of the VFW, not just combat tested gaming. And Gamble literally said, "Hold my beer and watch this." And thanks to that, we now have a podcast that you're listening to us on. Thanks to him, we are partnered, associated and promoted on the VFW website. Yeah, but it's all thanks to him. So I don't want him to be the humble prior Marine gamer that he's trying to be right now. He needs to know that that's a big fucking deal. And
that's a big leap.
And that's our first one too. And on top of that, he's done other things. He's not even talking about what he's been doing here in the last few weeks that he just got certified in his state.
Well, like I said, yes, it was my idea to reach out to the VFW, and but it's a team effort here at TROA. If the big thing is, if I come up with an idea, I need help implementing it. Like I came up with the idea for the VFW partnership, but as a team, we came together to make it all happen. It was, as an executive team, we came together, put the MOU together, had the meetings, had the reach outs. It all happened as a team. So I can't take sole credit, even as coming up with the idea for the podcast. It's just words, really. Let's do a podcast, but as a team coming together, things happen, things get done.
You're right, and I agree with you on that. But again, I wanted to ensure that you understood just your ideas that you come up with at random points make big impacts, and that's why we're where we're at is because of you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Because if you would have, when I joined, the VFW partnership was definitely not on the table. It wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind. No one else thought about that. The podcast, yes, I had done a podcast prior with some members of my old gaming organization, but I didn't think about starting that back up again. I was far from that concept when you mentioned it and asked me, "Hey, how do we do this?" I was like, "Well, I can help you." And look at me now. You've given me an additional purpose outside of TROA in general. And all of this currently, where the boost that we're going forward with is because of you. So, and don't misunderstand. And I hope anybody who's listening to this that knows Gamble, yes, he can be interesting to some and hard to chew for others, but it's because of who he is why we're where we're at in this organization right now, this nonprofit.
Exactly.
If you weren't here, none of this probably would have ever happened, especially as quick as it did.
I wouldn't have had the patience.
I appreciate that, guys.
So I think you answered that question pretty darn well. And then, Joker kind of forced your hand too, but sometimes we need it. Especially when individuals like ourselves, we're the face of this organization, and we need to make sure everything runs smooth, and we do. It is a team effort. Thank you, Joker, for that. Why did you want to join TROA and be a part of this mission? And before you answer that question, also give a little insight of TG as well, of our work history.
Yeah, so TG Tactical Gaming, that was even back when I was still in the Marines. That's when I first met you, Mark. I might have even been a little younger still before I got into the Marine Corps. When I first met you,
We were
TG was still going.
we were pretty young because I
Yeah,
was 12 or 13 when I started tactical gaming.
yeah. My timelines
God,
are jumping.
yeah, we're a little bit further along than that. Y'all are in your what 30s now?
I'm almost 40.
Yeah. Well, I am 40, so you're still younger than me.
God, you
Haha.
guys are old. I'm just kidding. I'm in my 30s, but yeah. So I've been in a number of gaming clans, gaming communities, but nothing like TROA. TROA is something that is inclusive to everyone, something that has a mission to include everyone, no matter what, no matter your race, sex, religion, and we guarantee you a safe space. And that's something that not every gaming organization has. And I think that's important. Where I think that really comes in is where I met you in TG. There was just a level of organization and structure to TG, the way things were done, the way things were handled, the meetings, the way the nonprofit status, the way business was handled. And I think that's how we can get away with it here. Not get away with it, but how we can make things function and come together as a team to get things done. But when I had reached out to you, when I bought my gaming computer, however many months ago it was, Cruz was actually the one who kind of convinced me to get back into gaming. And so I went out and bought this. And I think I sent you a message on Facebook and was like, hey, I'm got myself a gaming computer. What are you up to? And you sent me the Discord invite to here. And, I checked this out and checked out the website and, saw what everything was about, saw the mission status and, saw that this is what I want to be a part of. This is something that I think I can help with because my time in TG was as the chief public relations officer. I have a certain way with people. I'm not everyone's taste, but I do have a way to interact and a way to reach out to businesses, companies, and market things. And that's something that I think I'm good at. I thought that, well, here at TROA, I think I can help with this. And I believe in the mission. And I think we can take this to even bigger and greater heights. Let's bring in this idea. Let's do this. And eventually, that's where we're at today. Just evolving, moving forward, bringing in new people, bringing in new ideas.
Awesome. Yeah, things have definitely changed. So, what is something in the past 6 months that you have learned about yourself by being in TROA and dealing with the day-to-day operations?
I think I definitely need to slow down. I have my own mental health issues that I deal with daily, my own mental health struggles. And sometimes that gets me excited, anxious, and I've learned that here in TROA, I can slow down, I can reach out, and I can rely on people here for that help that I need. And here at TROA, not only are we a team, but we're a family. And we're always going to be here to have each other's back. Hence why we have the I Got Your Six program here.
Which, by the way, was another one of your ideas.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't humble himself enough, you know.
Yeah, no, I know.
So this is the last question I have until we get more near the end. But can you tell me what you're most excited about, you know, for TROA in the future, especially with our partners and the pending partnerships that we, you know, we're currently working on? Give the public a little taste.
Yeah, man. So I think we are definitely growing with our partners. We have some really good ideas cooking, and especially with public and influence with the public, some potential public outreach going out, and you're going to see TROA out there interacting. I definitely think you need to check out our social media, check out the podcast, check out the Discord, wait for the announcements, see what we're doing. We're doing a lot of research into universities and to different businesses and to different nonprofits that we can work with. And I think it's all going to come together into something huge. And we are definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to being able to get out there, help people, give them the resources that they need. And you're going to be hearing a lot about TROA.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. I want to go back because this is essentially outside of just the physical nonprofit. This is also a gaming community. So let's get back into the game side real quick. What was like your first game that got you into playing video games, whether it be console or PC or handheld, whatever? But the first game that got you into it and the games that you're playing right now.
I think what got me hooked on gaming was 007 GoldenEye on Nintendo 64. That and Duck Hunt. My cousins had that out at the farm, and we would shoot that against his wall, and that was my jam. But playing on the 64, that and there was this pod racing game for Star Wars I was really into. But that was kind of the first thing that got me into shooters was 007 with James Bond. And I really liked that. And it really got me hooked. And I was always big into shooting, going out to my grandparents' farm. But I loved that. Games I'm playing now, I'm really into virtual reality on the Oculus. I play a lot of Tactical Assault, Ghosts of Tabor, Onward. I also have a handset shooter called Ace XR. It's a virtual shooting. Comes with a lifelike. I got a Staccato HD handset for that. So to that.
Okay, so like more. So right now, your favorite stuff is mostly VR type gaming.
Yeah,
with the immersion.
With Milsim, doing a team effort. I love Ready or Not. I love Escape from Tarkov. I love Gray Zone. anything that can get me into a team, doing squad tactics, doing anything to have a couple buddies running a mission, unleashing hell. I love it. And I'm also, as much as I hate it and as much as I rage quit, I'll get on and play Star Citizen with Joker.
Yeah, I kind of brought y'all into that that rage-inducing game. It's almost, I'm gonna say it's almost War Thunder level rage-inducing, but again, it's also not because it has its own quirks.
Oh, it's Jesus. My therapist says I should delete it.
What about that all that amazing stuff that we just talked about, gaming journey? What about gaming is beneficial for mental health? Why do you think that it's such a positive thing for individuals that um, are like ourselves?
Well, I think there are multiple ways that gaming can be beneficial for your mental health. I think not only for civilians, but for veterans especially. For civilians, it's a way for us, well, I guess I am a civilian now. It's a way for people to get away and kind of escape reality for a little bit. Come home from work, get on the computer, and just kind of relieve a little stress, get into a different reality, experience something different, have a little fun, meet some different people, build a relationship with someone, hop on Discord, make some friends, experience something different. And all that is possible through gaming. Now, with veterans, there is just such a huge benefit. For me, I lost my identity when I got out of the military. That was the only thing I had ever wanted. It's the only thing I had known. It's the only thing I had planned for. And when I got out, I was lost, and I began spiraling out of control into hate, violence, drug abuse, crime, and I paid the price for it. And I think with gaming, as a veteran, you can find that identity again. There are how many military simulation games on Steam and different other websites that you can go on and play and get with a group of individuals who are also veterans and link up and run your tactics, run a game plan, strategize, get that talk going, get that lingo going, get that dark humor going, bring back the memories that you've lost and you feel like you're not a part of anymore. That's why you see so many veteran groups popping up, like Vet TV or Black Rifle Coffee Company, different groups like that. They're bringing a little bit of the military back because veterans feel lost. They don't feel like they are who they are. And I truly believe that's why veteran suicide rates are so high. We've lost who we are. And they just can't cope. They can't cope with their demons. We don't have anybody to turn to. And I think through gaming, we can rely on each other again. We can talk to each other again. We can build a relationship again, and we can be there for each other again. And gaming can bring that joy back into your life again.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, very much so. My last question is really going to revolve around the veterans side, because we all typically either don't know or do know about the VA. And the VA, of course, again, is Veterans Affairs. It is essentially there for us after we get out of service, or even some cases while we're still in. But you said that you've had to deal with the VA, especially more recently, and you're trying to get things right with the VA as far as your claims and stuff. But what have your experiences been with the VA, like claims and compensation, medical treatment, and potential overall benefits dealing with the VA in your area?
Yeah, so I've been dealing with the VA for 10 years now, well over 10 years. And it is definitely a process that I think one needs to research and get as much advice on before you start that fight, before you start that battle. Get your intel right, because it is going to be a fight. For me, I got my first claim back at 20%. And as messed up as I was like, 20%? What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And I had just been hospitalized for all my back like 3 different times, and they came back with a 20%. It like was just unimaginable. And I think it can discourage a lot of people and make people give up. And the big thing is, don't give up. You have to fight and fight and fight. Appeal that claim. Resubmit a claim. Bring as much evidence as you can. I resubmitted my claim, and I ended up getting a 90 on my next one. I just started my claim process over again at the end of last year in December, and I finally hit 100 a couple months ago. But
congratulations, by the way. That is definitely a hard feat, and any veteran listening to this will know, especially on your third push, that is phenomenal. So congratulations on receiving that 100%.
But I've had some issues. I found out that the VA has been overpaying me for the last 5 years. So now I owe the VA some money, but I found out that they have a bunch of my paperwork wrong, and I submitted a waiver for it. There's a lot of things you can do with the VA. You just have to do your research and know your options. As far as it comes to mental health, you also need to do your research, know your options. I was having a lot of trouble this time last year, and I actually took myself and checked myself in to the VA hospital for 3 days. I wasn't getting the help I needed from the psych I had.
Mm-hmm.
He had me on 14 different medications. And when I say 14, I mean 4. It was just crazy. At that time, I was like 29 years old. I might have been 30 then. And I couldn't believe I was on 14 different medications. And I was not feeling right. I was suicidal. I was depressed. And I checked myself in. I said, this is what's going on. And they ended up getting me set up with a new doctor. They got my medication figured out. And I'm actually doing a lot better. And the doctor I'm actually with is not even a doctor. She's a nurse practitioner. In my experience, I think nurse practitioners are better than a doctor. I think they have more experience because they've worked the field, and they're more willing to help you. So
Yeah.
don't give up. That's the biggest thing. And you got to continue the fight. You're never out of the fight.
There you go.
So-
Yeah. So you definitely just answered what I was the next part of that question, of course, was advice for the vets. And when you kind of asked me that question during my interview is, yeah, don't ever give up and know what you're worth. Keep pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we're going to wrap this up with the final question. And I want some real thought into this. What is the one thing that you are most excited about for TROA?
Yeah,
One-
what is the one thing you're most excited about?
The one thing the one thing I am most excited for is, I think it's going to be our mental health program. You know, being able to be there for anybody that, whether that be the program that Cruz is working on, whether it be any other program, the I Got Your Six program, any mental health program we are working on, for any individual who comes into our servers or our Discord or even anyone out in public, if they are having a mental health crisis or they need resources, our people are going to be available to help them, get them the help they need, or point them in the right direction. That's the biggest thing I'm excited for, because we're going to have the bigger impact on more people and help more people, and hopefully end the stigma against mental health and put a dent in that veteran suicide rate of 22.
All right. Anything else you got for him, Mark, before we wrap this up?
No, but since this is episode 3,
Three.
to our audience, you guys can, people that have listened, we thank you for the listens, and we thank for our overall community that is growing exponentially. But the whole part of this podcast is for us to be real, raw, and honest with the audience. So if you yourself are going through situations that that you need to seek professional help, or you need to see someone, these are what these stories are about, because everybody always feels that life is just a easy to get through. But I mean, honestly, the further you go into your life, the more harder it becomes, because you are faced with challenges, you're faced with obstacles, you're faced with adversity, you're faced with a lot of different things that you don't really know. And I think that us doing this podcast and being real and raw and talking about everything, I think in the long run, the stories will speak for themselves. And I think that the individuals that share these stories are very brave individuals, because we're not only just talking about our story, we're being real, we're being very vulnerable in sharing these kinds of this information that we're sharing. And the premise of all this is to help anybody else that's out there that is going through or suffering themselves. So, this is my last episode, probably until we have, a big guest or something come on. But I've very much enjoyed, these past 2 episodes that I've been a part of. I think that Gamble is an amazing individual. I think, the idea of putting this podcast together was probably the smartest thing I've heard that's come out of TROA so far. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. These stories are all about letting the audience know and letting everybody know that you are not alone. There are people out there who are just like you, have made mistakes, and have also redeemed themselves and can push forward and bring themselves back and succeed in life. So come check us out. Come join our community. You've got a family here waiting for you.
yeah. And, again, this will be mine and pretty much Gamble's last episode as we focus on the main operations of the organization and the growth and the trajectory. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you guys, especially for giving me even more purpose within the community. And I look forward to future guests that they help me set up, that you as a community could potentially help set up or even be a part of this podcast. As we finish out these episodes, we've got some pretty interesting people coming along, to include other TROA community members and some VFW members, and even a nice, highly acclaimed streamer that has been doing wonders within the realm and using his craft. So thank you again to everybody who's listening in. Please share the podcast, where we are also available on Spotify, YouTube, and our website. I hope that this message reaches everybody, and out of the potential thousands that could be listening now or in the future, as long as we can help one, we have done our job. But we strive to make sure that everybody knows, like Gamble said, and I will continue to repeat this until the end of my time on this podcast: you are not alone. Thank you for joining us.
The forge is bled. The dwarf spoke secrets long since dead. In Alfheim starlight filled our soul with songs that made the broken whole. In Jotunheim the frost giants roared. We stood our ground, we drew no sword, but earned respect through test and pain. The mighty fall, the true remain. To Raven whisper, winds still howl, through thorn and mist, through tooth and jaw, across the roots of Yggdrasil. Our purpose drives, our hearts are still. With every friend and every fall, we carve our names on Odin's wall. In storm or flame, we won't disarm. To Raven whisper, we march strong armed. Helheim's gates, the shadows near. We walked through sorrow, faced our fear. But Fenris how could not divide the shield wall forged in fire and pride.